Hello everyone, my name is Roger Handford and I work for the Environment Agency where I'm a Senior Advisor in their National Fisheries Partnerships team. And I'd like to take this opportunity to talk to you today about the Fisheries Improvement Programme, or FIP as I may refer to it during this presentation. So what am I going to cover? I'm going to hopefully answer the 5 W's and 1 H. That's why we have a Fisheries Improvement Programme, where and when projects are undertaken, what sort of work's covered by the programme, who we like to work with, and how the programme is delivered on an annual basis. I'd also like to share with you some project examples. So this is works we've completed in recent years and show the scale and scope of the programme. And finally, I think it's important for me to clarify the difference between the Fisheries Improvement Programme and 2 other programmes that you might be familiar with, the Angling Improvement Fund and the Get Fishing Fund. So, first up, why do we have a Fisheries Improvement Programme? I think it's worth bearing in mind that the Environment Agency has a duty to maintain, improve and develop fisheries. Therefore, FIP is an essential and ideal way that we can use income from licence sales to benefit local fisheries and help local anglers. And in very simple terms, the more licences we sell, the more projects we can deliver. So the graph on this table shows that year on year we've seen quite a fluctuation in licence sales, especially in recent years, and that has a direct impact on the scale of the Fisheries Improvement Programme. Looking in a bit more detail, these are the figures from 2015 onwards, so the last 6 or 7 years. And you can see during that time we've completed around about 800 projects. We've also invested in that period around £6 million. And one of the good benefits of the Fisheries Improvement Programme is that we work with partners that can provide match funding. So over that same period we've attracted about £13 million worth of additional funding for fisheries projects. So overall the Fisheries Improvement Programme represents a huge amount of work and benefits for local fisheries. Looking in a bit more detail, this is a summary from 2017-18, and you can see during this year that we worked with 374 different partners and improved 133 kilometres of river. We removed 23 barriers, which opened up over 160 kilometres of extra river to the fish. We estimate that over 120,000 anglers benefited from this programme of works. The pictures on this slide give an example of some of those projects. So on the top left we've put some fencing along a river that protects the riparian habitat and improves the habitat along the bank for the fish in the river. On the top right we've put in some new platforms and access on a still water to increase the number of anglers that can fish it. Bottom left we've put in some flow deflectors that constrict the flow and improve the local habitat and make the fish stocks much more sustainable. And the bottom right is a new still water habitat being created adjacent to a river. So the next question is, where do we do Fisheries Improvement Programme projects? This map is from 2021 and it shows all of the Fisheries Improvement Programme projects, the green dots on this map. The Environment Agency is responsible for fisheries in fresh water in England, so therefore we have the country boundaries. We also do not undertake works on coastal fisheries, so these are all freshwater fisheries, and I've estimated around about 50% of these projects are on rivers and 50% on still waters. So, looking at a bit more detail as to what we consider when we're looking at developing projects, these are the criteria for funding. The first one is that there must be a clear angling benefit, and what that means in reality is that the water that we're working on must be fished, so anglers benefit from the investment. There is a slight difference to that in that we do sometimes work on a tributary or a backwater where there isn't any fishing, but the benefits of that work to improve the spawning habitat and improve the stocks will benefit the anglers that are fishing the main river. Looking at the priorities, the first one is very important. We don't do work on or directly benefiting migratory salmonids. Because the income comes from coarse trout and eel habitat, eel licenses, we only reinvest that money in projects that will benefit those species' habitat, improve their passage, or address issues such as sediment on rivers and still waters. We also spend money on improving access for anglers. This could be new platforms, new paths, car parking, those sort of things that ensure that more anglers can go fishing. There may be circumstances where we need to know a bit more about why a fishery isn't performing or why the stocks aren't as good as they should be. So we might spend some money doing some targeted surveys or working with partners to walk over a catchment to look at where the issues are and identify the solutions that will improve the local fisheries. In recent years, we've seen the impacts of climate change, and summers have been longer in terms of the dry, warm weather, and that impacts on fish stocks in terms of the water temperatures and the oxygen levels. So we spent over 3 years, somewhere approaching £200,000, to help fisheries to adjust to this and to manage it. So that can involve us spending money on purchasing water quality meters so that we and fishery owners can monitor the oxygen levels, and then buying things like aerators to help manage them if there is a critical incident that needs to be addressed. The final bullet point on this slide is about match funding, and this is where we're seeking money from others to make our money go further. So the license money can be used to attract funds from other places, and quite often our partners are very good at applying for grants, whether that's things like heritage lottery funding or even European money to boost the total value of the programme. There may be some cases where we don't have any match funding. The example I can think of is where we own a free fishery, or a tenant club needs to have some work urgently done to keep that fishery open. So some works to platforms or pegs, and in those cases, you know, we may waive the match funding requirement, but they're the exception rather than the rule. So who's involved? Well, we talk to partners to seek their ideas. We have some very good relationships with people like the Wild Trout Trust and the Rivers Trust, who may come to us with ideas and be able to deliver them on our behalf. We also work with internal partners within the Environment Agency, people like our colleagues in FRCM, so that's the Flood Defence Department. If they're doing work where they're spending a lot of money, if we can invest a little bit of fisheries money, quite often the benefits to fisheries will be secured and can be quite significant. We'll also work with other parts of the organisation that are doing environmental work and have got sources of funding such as the Water Environment Improvement Fund or the Water Environment Grant. And again, we can get fisheries benefits out without having to pay for them all ourselves. And it's about talking to the local clubs and fisheries and getting their ideas as to what will help them. And we found that by investing small amounts of money, maybe buying equipment for a club, they're able to do some of the habitat management themselves at a very low cost. And we're keen to make sure that the work that we do within fisheries aligns with other activities. We have a national angling strategy that wants to get more people fishing and seek some of those wider benefits around well-being and physical health. If we can help the government with its 25-year environment plan, then we might be able to work with different partners who have different interests. And Sport England represents all sporting interests, but angling is becoming increasingly aware. They're becoming increasingly aware of the benefits of angling and therefore are prepared to help fund some of this work. And within the Environment Agency, we have our own priorities and actions regarding trout and other coarse fish species. So, on a given year, I'm just going to run you through what we how we work. So in January, we'll set a initial budget, and this is based on the coarse fishing interests in each of our 14 areas. So £500,000, typically that amounts to about 30 to 35,000 per area. And where there's a lot of coarse fishing interests, such as the West Midlands, they'll get more money. They get up to sort of £60,000 plus, whereas a small area with less licensed sales, such as the North East, will get about £20,000 per year. So once that budget's set, we ask the areas to work up a list of projects, and they do that in a variety of ways. They'll have quite often a programme of works that they want to deliver that is based on a medium-term plan. They'll be talking to internal colleagues, some of those other programmes of works like WEEF, to see what fisheries benefits they might support. And they'll be talking to local clubs and fishery owners and collating ideas from that. One way of doing that is through the online portal that's mentioned there, where we receive ideas that enables us to review those and discuss those with the people that have submitted them. We need to probably manage expectations there, that just because a club might put an idea in, it doesn't give any guarantees that we'll be able to fund it. We do only have limited So once those programs are developed locally, they'll submit them, and we will make a decision nationally in April as to which projects form part of the initial Fisheries Improvement Programme, and then those projects can commence. It's important to note that they need to follow certain rules and guidance internally. So they need to get an approval to spend that. They need to ensure that we follow our procurement policies, which may include getting 3 quotes, etc. Where we're working with local partners, we need to have a legal agreement in place, and that needs to show what what we're paying for, and what the role and the responsibilities are of that partner. What we need to do then around about mid-year is look at where we are with licence sales and decide whether we can release some more money. As I mentioned, last year was a very good year. Even though we were in the midst of a global pandemic, the actual number of people going fishing was beyond everyone's expectations, which meant that we could reinvest some more money and enable some more projects to be delivered. This year at the moment, I've got to be honest, it's not looking as great. Sales are behind where we hoped for, but if we do get an uplift, then as soon as we're able to make that decision, we will get back in touch with areas and ask them to submit some more projects, which normally happens in the autumn. And ultimately, all of the projects that we approve need to be completed and budgets spent by the end of the year. So that would in this year, that would be March 2022. So moving on to some of the type of work that we've funded through the Fisheries Improvement Programme. This is something termed EMFF, the European Maritime Fisheries Fund, and this is where we used a relatively modest amount of rod licence income of £200,000 to really draw down a huge investment from other sources, over £3 million. This happened in 2017, and you can see that from those pictures there, we were able to deliver some fairly impressive fish passage solutions. So on the left, it's a rock and pool pass, and on the right it's a more traditional fish pass. That's a linear pass. So those were delivered in the north, east and Midlands, and that was a really good example of where substantial improvement to a large number of rivers with a small amount of rod license money was possible. The second example is I guess the other end of the scale. This was a recent project where a local school in the Midlands got in touch with us wanting to develop a lake. So on the left there is a lake there in that very overgrown area of their school land. With a modest investment, we were able to completely revitalise that and provide a bespoke fishing habitat for that school, and hopefully that will lead to a lot more interest locally from the school and from the children that attend to get them into the wonderful sport of angling. So finally, moving on to some of the other programs of work. As I mentioned, we have an angling improvement fund and a get fishing fund. These, what do they have in common with FIP? Well, they're all funded from licence income. They're all to benefit coarse and trout anglers, and they all seek to work with partners and secure funds from elsewhere. How do they differ? Well, although they use our money, they are actually organised through the Angling Trust. We have a contract with the Angling Trust for them to deliver various services, so this forms part of the contract in that they administer these programs on our behalf, and as part of that there are different timescales, different criteria, and a different award value, i.e. the maximum amount of money that is put into an individual project. Firstly, the Angling Improvement Fund. This is set up to help fisheries that are affected by predation, and that typically are otters, fish-eating birds, mainly cormorants and mink. And the two pictures there are examples of a otter fence, including a gated entrance to the fishery that was installed. and on the right that's an island that is being created in the middle of still water that helps to provide a level of protection to the fish stocks from avian predation. It's worth noting that we're just about to launch a new AIF theme around biosecurity, and more information around this these works is available on the Angling Trust website that's detailed there. The other fund, the Get Fishing Fund, this was really a result of the increased sales that we had last year, and enabled us to invest money in clubs and fisheries that were seeking to provide and put on angling participation events this summer. So in total we've invested about £200,000 on this, and hopefully we'll see the benefits of that as events are undertaken and completed this summer. And again, there's a website there you can go to more information. Hopefully we'll be able to repeat this for next year, and that's obviously going to be dependent on license sales, but it remains our intention to do that. So finally, just some thoughts from myself as to what makes a good Fisheries Improvement Programme project. I think although you can go and see what is on the websites there that we've referred you to, the best source of information is your local fisheries officer to help you understand what's feasible and help you shape and develop your project. So I'd always advise you to talk to the local Environment Agency office. Hopefully you've got a named contact, but if not, then go through our switchboard, and they'll direct you to your local officer and talk to them about what you're thinking in terms of a project or how you would like to improve your fishery. Be realistic. The Fisheries Improvement Programme hasn't got an unlimited pot of money, so I've seen some clubs and fisheries wanting to build a new clubhouse or things like that cost tens of thousands of pounds. Typically a fisheries improvement project is in the region of 5 to 10,000, and I've put on there's some examples either on the Angling Trust or on our Environment Agency blog that just describes in a bit more detail maybe some of the projects that we funded in the past, and that will inform you as to what we might consider in the future. And finally, think about what you can offer. As I said, match funding is very important, but I'm conscious that a lot of clubs don't have much money that they can part fund, but that doesn't mean that you can't use your members to help with certain things and volunteer their own time, and that counts as match funding. So that's a quick run through the Fisheries Improvement Programme. I hope it's given you a bit more insight and information as to what it involves. I'm very happy to take any questions now, or those are my contact details if you wish to contact me after tonight's event. So thank you, and that's it.